Hello, everyone. This is the EJGC show. This is your host, Eddie Gallagher. I'm here with Luke Staudt. We are going to talk a little bit about NFL and some college football. Luke, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I've been kind of a big fan from afar and pumped to get after it.
Oh, stop. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get started. So big news over the week. Micah Parsons traded to the Green Bay Packers. Parsons signed a 4-year deal, $188 million. Um, First off, what do you think of that deal? Micah Parsons going to Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean it was sort of a thing, sort of a big deal. I mean, it seems like it's all I heard about last week. I feel like with stuff like that, the truth's always somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? Um, it's like on one hand, I don't know if there's a defensive player who's like more valuable to their team than Micah Parsons is or was. And I don't know if there's anyone that I think has some of the physical gifts that he has and is as versatile. And I mean, I would say that he's a big, big reason for the success of any Cowboys pass rush the past few years. But then on the other hand, I think I remember hearing Jerry Jones saying how he was like already, I could be wrong, don't quote me on this, but he could have already been basically the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, or maybe the highest paid defensive player, something like that. So I can understand kind of the frustration on both sides to an extent. It seemed like almost this was the best outcome for everybody. You know what I mean? He's going to get paid. Cowboys get their clean slate. They get their draft picks. They get a couple plug and play guys. Um, I think both sides will be completely fine. I do think it hurts Dallas more than it hurts Micah. I think he's going to go to Green Bay, right? Is where he ended up.
Yeah, Green Bay.
Yeah, like I think he's going to go to Green Bay. He's going to fit in really well there. They're going to have a lot of success. I think he's just going to make a solid defense even better. And then I think for Dallas, like that, now it's all about replacing him and finding sort of a new pass rush. And I think it's good that they were able to plug some holes by getting rid of him. But I think that the pass rush maybe wasn't a hole before. I think it could be considered somewhat of a hole now. Um, and in their division, right? If you're playing Jaden Daniels, you're playing Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, like that is not a division you want to let you don't want to let some of those quarterbacks sit back there all day in the pocket. Like I think a pass rush is like the most important thing on a defense, especially in a conference with that many good QBs. You know what I mean? So
You could say the same thing with the AFC or the NFC North. Caleb Williams, Goff, Jordan Love. Who knows about JJ McCarthy?
true.
But on Dallas' perspective, okay, you can't pay over 50% of your cap for three guys, Micah, CD, obviously Dak Prescott. So on the one hand, yeah, I think it's a good move that you traded him, but on the other hand, Jerry Jones messed his cap up. It was very, very run poorly. Uh, you don't pay Dak Prescott $60 million a year. He's just not that type of QB. What is
Right.
he? I'm
I
he's
completely agree.
he's probably around the 11th to 15th best quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
CD, I agree. I think he deserves top of the market for his position. Um, so I just think Jerry, he loves the noise and
Yep.
but the whole Parkins and Jerry, it seemed very personal, and I think and I look, I get it. Parsons even said he wanted to be a cowboy for life, but sometimes things change, and
Yeah, it seems like if you get a lot of egos, right? I mean, at that level of sports, right? There's a lot of egos involved. To your point, like I think Jerry Jones, I think the biggest problem with that franchise is their cap management to begin with. The fact that you're paying hundreds of millions of dollars to three different players, right? One of which, as you pointed out, and I completely agree, I don't think is worth half the money, right? Like I don't, I'm not convinced that Dak Prescott is any better than. Sure, he might be. You could put him 11th, 12th, 13th best in the league, but I also could see him. You could put him at 16th, 17th, 18th best in the league, and I like wouldn't have a steep argument for you there. You know what I mean? So
he had two major injuries.
yeah, yep,
So, um, but I will say this. I don't think that the Dallas Cowboys will be good this year. So I like the fact that they have another draft pick. You know, they just
True.
need to rebuild. It's time to rebuild, and I think that's what the Cowboys are maybe thinking. But at the same time, Micah Parsons is not a quarterback. That's
Yeah,
that's not the most valuable position. Yeah, it's nice to have a pass rusher, but you can easily find a pass rusher in the draft.
it's true. And I think a big part of it, the I think a big element of this that's still TBD is like, can they draft well? Because like if they make this trade, and I think to your point, if they don't take some sort of pass rushing presence in the draft, I think Jerry's lost his mind. So assuming they're going to go after one of those in the draft, like if they land on a guy, he looks like a genius, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
great. But if they don't, then it's like, boy, we'll look back in a couple years and be like, huh, wonder what this defense, what this team would look like with Micah. So to your point, I mean, there's still it is important to know like there's still so much grass in front of this thing to kind of see what direction it goes. But I will also add, and apologize to any Cowboys fans. Like I'm just not sold on Jerry Jones as the GM. Like I never have been. Like I know they had success in the '90s. Like, but the whole mantra of like trust Jerry, like just put your blind trust in Jerry, close your eyes, and he'll take you where you need to go. Like as entertaining as he is, as much as I love to listen to him spew about nonsense, I don't know. I don't know if I would trust him to draft my fantasy football team, to be honest with you. So, uh,
yeah, yeah. But on the Green Bay side, they're a team that normally is not really aggressive.
yes,
So I like the fact they were aggressive. Did they pay too much for Micah? Sure, but if Jordan Love here's this is the
yes,
main point. If
yes,
Jordan Love hits, it doesn't matter.
yeah. I think
He
yes,
was good. He was great in that playoff game against the Cowboys 2 years ago. He was okay, but he got injured.
yes.
Remember
Sure,
in
he got
Brazil,
down.
I think that hurt him.
Yep.
Uh, last year I believe they went 1-5 in the division, but still won 11 games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and they have a lot of talent. Green Bay is an organization that I trust.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think. Sorry, I
the-
just not. Go ahead.
no, no, I just think if Jordan Love hits, the Micah deal does not matter.
I think that's a great. So you tell me if I'm wrong on this, but one casual observation I've had from every team that's like won a Super Bowl or has been in a Super Bowl the last handful of years or even before, they always have like two general things. They have either a really good or like serviceable quarterback, right? Like, and the lowest end quarterback that I can think of is like, I mean, I guess like Matt Stafford maybe when the Rams won recently, or like maybe one of the year or like maybe one of the years the Chiefs won and Mahomes wasn't great all year. But like for the most part, there's been above average quarterback play. That's the one non-negotiable. And then the other is a pass rush, a very good pass rush, right? The Eagles defense last year, all of the Chiefs defenses since 2020. Um, even that Rams team with Aaron Donald, right? And like,
They
so
added Von Miller. Uh,
yeah, yes. Oh, the Von Miller. So like to your point about the Packers, like you're right. I think the Micah thing, like you could reword that as like the trade won't matter unless Love improves, right? Like, because if he progresses and improves, you know what Micah's going to do, right? Like, Micah's going to go and be Micah. Then, if you can then generate more of that pass rush, because you said, like you pointed out, they're a little bit more of a conservative defense. Now you can pin your ears back and you can get after Caleb Williams and you can get after Jared Goff, right? And then at the same time, you've got a quarterback that can actually threaten all areas of the field against a good defense. Like I think Green Bay could be something there, but that is a tough division. That's a really
it,
tough division.
it
So
is. Now, I mean, I already made my predictions. I still like Detroit to win that division. Still, I understand the coordinator situation,
yeah,
but I just think Detroit still has the best talent in the NFC North.
yeah,
But
I agree with you there.
but
Yep.
but this could be the final year for Detroit.
Yeah.
I think the margins is very slim. I think Detroit needs to be pretty perfect. And remember, they were injured pretty much the whole year last year, and they were still the number
Yeah.
one seed. They were really banged up. So yeah, I still think Lions first place. I think Green Bay second place. Uh,
Yeah.
but the reason is, I think Minnesota's good, but I just don't know what JJ McCarthy is.
Yes. Yes.
That's the real question.
Yes. And same thing, by the way, with I think I agree with you, and I think the same. You can make the same point for the Bears and Caleb Williams. Like I don't. He had moments. He had good moments last year. He had not great moments last year. Like, granted, you got Ben Johnson over there now, who I think is a stud coach, right? I think he's a big reason the Lions got to where they are. But you're right. I think this year, at least, just this next year, right? Like, I don't think the coordinator absence is going to kill them too much because, like, they still have the foundation. You know what I mean? They have the old playbook, right? Like, they have the old playbook. They still have the players, which is the most important part. Now, after this year and next year next year comes around, the more time that comes, right? The less or the more difficult it is to keep that foundation in place that someone had.
Players want to get paid. You
Right,
know.
yeah, right. Players, exactly. Yeah. Hutchinson's going to be getting, like, I don't even know if he might still be on his rookie contract. I don't even know. I could be wrong on that. I might be very wrong on that,
Yeah,
but
I think.
I probably am. But there's still guys, but the point you made still stands. Like, guys are going to want to get paid. You know what I mean? Like, they do have young guys that are going to want to get paid. Gibbs is going to want to get paid if he hasn't already. Some of these guys already might have, but something's going to have to give. So, um, we'll see what
Uh,
happens.
I just wanna. So I looked it up. Aiden Hutchinson is still on his rookie deal.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, him and then Gibbs, because they might have been the same year, or maybe Hutchinson might have been a year younger. But like I feel like they're, and then Terry Arnold, like I want to say there's at least two or three guys that they have that are like pretty big players for them, and are gonna need. They're not gonna take rookie money for forever. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, so let's go to Terry McLaurin, wide receiver, Washington Commanders. He just signed a 3-year deal worth $96 million. He was holding out. He asked for a trade. It's weird. All these guys are asking for trades, and then they're staying with the same team. It's just so funny to me. Um, but my perspective is good. He's a homegrown for the Commanders. I like when players stay with their team.
yeah,
I think he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. I'm not saying he's the best, but he's up there for sure.
yeah,
Uh, and I think with the addition of Debo, Jaden Daniels has two playmakers that he can work with.
yeah. It's man, it's very interesting because on one hand, I want to be super excited about the Commanders because bringing Mclaurin back, huge. But then just looking at it purely at Jalen Daniels and I'm sorry, Jane Daniels, his progression. Like, obviously, boy, he looked like that his rookie year. Like, what could he look like his second year, right? Like, what that jump is going to look like. And the scary thing is, like, he was so good last year. I don't know how much better he can get. Now, granted, he can, I'm sure, get a lot better. And I'm not saying that this is the end of his progression, but like, let's say he gets 10-20% better than last year. I feel like that's reasonable. I feel like that's probably likely. And I feel like that improvement is noticeable. But is that improvement gonna be enough for them to beat the Eagles, right? And get through that division? I do think bringing back a guy like McLaurin, like I think that's a non-negotiable. Like if they lose a guy like him this, or had they lost a guy like him this right late in the offseason, right, and like with kind of no answers, like I think that's big trouble for them. But I also think that if there's one thing that could bring the most improvement out of Daniels going into year two, like instead of him improving 10-20% from last year, he gets to 40-50%, like he way surpasses his production, which would be impressive. I think it would be because of a veteran, keyword veteran presence of a guy like Terry McLaurin, right? Because at the end of the day, he's still a young guy. Daniels is. He's a young guy. He's playing in one of the toughest divisions in football. And I do think that defensively, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but like, I think their defense can win them games. I think their defense can compete.
That was their weakest part last year. If their defense can improve, they'll be a real threat in the NFC.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think the Eagles have so much more talent than the Commanders. Uh, I do want the Eagles to repeat to win the NFC East, but I don't have them winning the NFC as a whole. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just so tough to repeat in the NFL.
It
I mean, I
is.
know the Chiefs has done it repeatedly. I know the Patriots with Tom Brady has done it repeatedly, but to repeat, I think that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And
I'm with you.
definitely when they lost their coordinator and Kelly going to the Saints.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good, yeah, that's a good, that's a under talked about point. I think, yeah, as far as the Commanders, like, I think, yes, he's big in terms of what Daniel's production is going to look like. I think that's where that biggest impact. But in terms of the team's overall success, like where they go, I think the defense is more something to keep an eye on because I thought last year they were competitive enough to help them win games against mediocre teams and mediocre offenses, right? Like they could win the low scoring version of a shootout. I don't know if that doesn't make any sense, but they could give up something in the mid 20s and win the game, I guess.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
when you play the Philadelphias, you play the San Franciscos, like you're not gonna Kansas City, like you're not gonna be able to give up 30 points and like realistically expect to win the game. Like that's just too much of an ask. So I'll be interested to see how that side of the ball progresses. But I do think that it's not to kind of look down upon the point you brought up about Mclaurin because I think, like I said, that was a non-negotiable for their offense to continue to improve because that's the problem when you set the bar so high. It's like the problem becomes how do you overcome that? Like how do you improve? And so I think that's a big piece of the puzzle for them to do that because and it's not like they can't. It's not like they need to improve, right? Because they are in the toughest division. It's not like, well, if they do the same thing as last year, they'll have a good chance. It's like, no, they have to improve. That's the difficulty of being in a tough division.
Okay. So Rasheed Rice suspended for 6 games. Uh, I think it's well deserved. Car crash. Speeding. He left a number of people injured. Luckily, no one died, but 6 games. I think that seems fair. Uh, but how do you think that affects the Chiefs? I'm gonna give you their schedule. Their first 6 games, and do you think that will have a major impact? So Chargers in Brazil, uh, home against the Eagles, away versus the Giants, home against the Ravens, away versus Jaguars, home versus Lions.
Yeah, I think it'll impact them, no doubt about that. I with that schedule, like if they had 5 scrub teams to open the year, I'd probably say they'd be okay. Um, but I mean, with that schedule, I think they're going to feel that. I think there are. I mean, listen, I'm not a Mahomes fan, but I think part of the reason of behind his regression is because I don't think he's had an elite receiving core. Now I know Kelsey is as good of a tight end as there's been in a while, and I'm not. I know just having him alone, right? I don't care who's out playing receiver, so I do understand that, and that's not an excuse.
And by the way, he's getting older, so he was
Very
aggressing
true.
last year, and I expect him to have more aggression this year. Now
Yes.
he looks like he's in better shape, but a lot of
Yeah, but I mean, if
commercials,
teams are
lot
if
lot
teams,
of commercials. He's dating Taylor, engaged, married. Taylor. Look, I get it. He had an incredible year. He deserves to do that kind of stuff. But I,
yeah, but you're
I
right though. I mean, how
Xavier Worthy is more like a gadget player.
yes,
Um,
yes.
so I
Like
just
how long can you ask Kelsey to beat double coverage? You know what I mean?
yeah, he's
It's
probably
neither older
he's
nor
probably
there.
not getting doubled anymore.
True. That's yeah. And then you almost have a bigger problem where your best player is not even worth doubling. I'd almost rather have that just deal with that and say, okay, they're going to double him. Great. It's going to open up one on one with another guy. But like as far as I mean, this situation, I think they're going to feel. I think that it might not be. Obviously, it's not the impact of a guy like Mahomes, right, or something like that. I don't know if I would say he's like I would say Mahomes, Pacheco, and Kelsey are still probably the 3 most valuable players on their offense off the top of my head. But they'll feel it. Like I think dare I say they drop a game they might not drop because of that.
I look, I think they lose. Now they travel to Brazil. Who knows? That's a neutral site game. I know Chargers don't have a translator, but that game, that's a
It was
50-50
legit
game.
though.
That's a
Yeah.
50-50 game.
Yep.
And then they come back to the United States. Who knows? To travel, going to a different country. I still feel it. The time zone and all that. So I think they definitely lose to the Eagles. I definitely think they lose to the Ravens.
Yes. I was
And
gonna say there's at
and
least
I
two
think
losses
through
there.
I think through 6 games, Lions. I think
Mm.
Lions will figure everything out. I think they lose to the Lions at best 3-3.
I was
I,
gonna say I think
at
yeah.
best three. At best 3-3. Maybe
Yeah.
2-4. The worst is probably 2-4. That's just my. But you know what? I'm not a Chiefs guy. They could probably be 5-1 because of the refs. Who knows?
Oh
Who
God,
knows?
don't.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No,
But
no. I
but who
you
knows?
preach it. Well,
Mahomes
that's why I said 5-2 because I'm like, listen, I've been in Baltimore. I've been able to watch the Ravens every up front and every single time they play the Chiefs, and I think maybe they've beaten them once or twice, like randomly, but it seems like clockwork every time. Every time Baltimore's a favorite, or it's like this is our time or their time, whatever, and Pat Mahomes pulls something out of his, you know what, and he plays the best game of the season. He plays his or something. The defense shows up and looks ungodly, and something happens. So like, I still think there's a little bit of that Chiefs mania, Chiefs whatever you want to call it, magic. I guess that could maybe keep them out of this unscathed. But like, I do think going in the offseason, it's like it seems like the past couple years now, I've like asked myself like. Is this the offseason the Chiefs are going to fix their receiving core or not fix, but upgrade the receiving core? I think they've tried. I mean, like you mentioned, the kid from is it the kid from Jordan? What's his name? The kid, who's the other the gadget guy they got? I can't remember.
Xavier Worthy out of
Yeah,
Texas.
Xavier Ward. Yeah, the Texas kid, right? Like they I think they drafted him, right? Like I think that's a step in the right direction, but like I, I think that like going forward, like Pat Mahomes as he ages and ages more and more, and so does Kelsey, and those guys continue to grow older. Like I think if the Chiefs want to remain a top two or three team, top two or three franchise, like that's going to have to be a priority for them. Now they don't have to. I'm cool with the Chiefs being mediocre again. Like they don't, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, I hear it. I hear it. Yeah, so I think the Rashee Rice suspension, I think it will definitely impact the Chiefs. At the start of the beginning.
yeah. And by the
Uh,
way, those Chargers, watch out. That's if I were a bet man, if I had any money to bet, that would be a game that I would keep an eye out for the Chargers. I'm a little high on the Chargers going into this year. We'll see what happens, but
well, I already have Denver winning the West. I'm very high on
ooh,
them. Uh,
ooh,
I,
interesting.
uh, I
I don't hate it.
no, I don't hate it. The reason why I'm not high, I was high on the Chargers in March, but I, that
I know
game, that
Slater's
that
tough.
playoff game that Herbert had, just keep popping in my head. Like, no,
Yeah,
I don't trust him, and I think he's under the most pressure. Not to win a Super Bowl, but to win a playoff game, because
yeah,
we got to stop putting him in this top 10 quarterback ranking. He's not a top 10 quarterback. He hasn't done anything.
no.
He has a good arm. So what? A lot of people have good arms. It's about
Okay.
production, and he has had good wide receivers, good
Yes.
weapons. Look, you can. We got to stop blaming the coaches. You know,
I know. I mean, his staff right now, like Herbert to me is one of those that's like almost worse because, like, for example, look at we talked about Dak earlier, right? We'll say, okay, Dak's not a top 10, top 15 QB. Well, if you look at Dak, you're like, okay, like there's nothing about him physically that you're like, he should be a top. He doesn't have this massive arm. He's not 6'6". He doesn't run a 4'6", 4'5", 40. Maybe he can. I don't know. But the gifts aren't like, wow. You know what I mean? So like I don't know if the expectation should be as high for him. A guy like Herbert, I would argue his to your point, the big arm, he can like he's 6'6", he's athletic, like he's got more tools than probably I, I don't know. I would say well
no,
over 90,
he
right? Like
he, he is a top five arm talent for sure, but
yes.
it's
But
it's it's time to
yes,
produce.
when you're not when you're not producing anything, kind of reminds me. I'm not gonna. There's college guys you talk about that are like that, but it's like it reminds you almost of like the. You can think back to like I don't remember Christian Hackenberg. You might not remember him. Way back from Penn State, like it
Yeah.
reminds me of like your typical college football QB prospect who like is a stud arm and like has all the measurables, but you look at his stats and he's like, he goes like 20 and 11 or something. You know what I mean? You're like, sure, this guy should be the first overall pick. That type of thing. Herbert
Yeah,
just hasn't put anything tangible on paper. So I love his defense. I love his defense, though. It's the one thing I'll give him. I love his defense. I think Jesse Minter is. I mean, he balled out at Michigan. He won a natty there, I believe, and then his first year or was he in ball? No, first last year was his first year with the Chargers. Or last year in the first year, sorry, in the NFL calling defense. They were a freaking top 5 defense. I do think they've got that, but you're right, Herbert. I got to see way more, man. I got more confidence in. I mean, I would say someone like I have just as much confidence in him as I do Dak. Like they're two in the same to me. Maybe you
yeah,
think one's better than the other. I think they're equals. I think
yeah.
they're
Okay, yeah, yeah. No, I think I'm very excited to watch Herbert play against Kansas City. We're gonna see what the Chargers are really made of.
yeah.
Uh,
That could get ugly for him with the way Kansas City plays defense, the way they get downhill. You know what I
but
mean?
like you said, I think that's gonna be a close game. So, anyways, let's turn to college football. College football started.
Oh
The
yeah.
biggest game of the year, hyped up matchup. Ohio State versus Texas. 7-14 Ohio State. Uh, a lot of people were hyped up to see Arch Manning. Turned out Arch Manning did not play so well. Uh, but what was your takeaway from that game?
Oh, great question.
By,
So
by, by the way, he was 17 for 30, 170 yards, one touchdown, and one interception.
yeah. So I watched the game with my brother yesterday. We have a little debate this whole time. And I feel like it's tough for some people to keep perspective with things like this. So, did Arch Manning play a great game yesterday? No, he did not. Did Arch Manning play a good game yesterday? No, statistically not. He wasn't great. And was he fun to watch? No, none of those things I thought were. Like that's what it is. But on the flip side, I think it's important for everyone to keep in mind the context. Playing first career real start. I'm not counting Louisiana Monroe. It's
Yeah,
first career real start. Top 3, maybe top 1 defense in the country. Ohio State's legit.
yeah,
At Ohio State, top 3 road environment, toughest road environment. Matt Patricia calling the plays, Belichick disciple, NFL defensive mind. And by the way, just to piggyback on the Ohio State's defense point, Caleb Downs might be not only the best defensive player in the country, he might end up being like a top 3 to 5 player in the country, period. And he's back there as a safety, disguising coverages and roaming around. When I watched the game, like I didn't think I thought to myself, I told my brother, if this is the worst Arch Manning will look in college, if this is his worst game, he can and still will be a very good quarterback someday. Because I still thought the plays there was one throw, the opening throw of the game on the run here, he sailed it over a guy. That was a bad miss. And then there was an interception where he underthrew a guy. It was the right read. It was a little bit of a tough throw. It would have taken almost a perfect throw, and it wasn't a perfect throw, and he got picked. Other than those 2 plays, every time, like a lot of the mistakes he made yesterday, he's trying to make the right play, but there just wasn't anything there for him. For example, there's a one read play and he's stepping in to make a throw, and there's a guy who he's getting nailed as he's doing it, and he has to put the ball into a gap this big, and the guy isn't even open, right? And the ball gets knocked down or gets tipped and intercepted or whatever. Like I saw a lot of stuff like that. I saw a lot of like guys weren't open, and instead of like forcing it into a small window, he's tucking it and getting sacked because they're all 5 stars on the D line. Like it's not he's not blameless because like granted Texas does have 5 stars too. It's not like he's playing against
right.
freaking whoever, but like I still would stand by the narrative that if that's the worst that he's going to look, he's going to be very good because I've watched a few other quarterbacks later that day. My very own Ty
Oh,
Simpson.
a lot of quarters. Gus didn't play well.
Yep.
Club, the
Cade
Clemson
Klubnik.
quarterback, yeah, Kid Klubnik, he didn't play well.
Yep.
Uh, look, I mean, college football, now with the 12-team playoff, they're telling you play good teams, and
Yep.
that's what you want to see. And plus, it's week 1. But I want to get back to Arch Manning.
Yeah.
People projecting him to be the number 1 draft pick. Yes, he could be the number 1 draft pick one day,
Right.
but right now, this year, Probably not. And Archie Manning, the grandfather, even said he probably not going to come out this year. And
Yeah,
that makes sense because you look at a guy like Anthony Richardson. He only played 13 games in college, and sometimes you need experience to be better. And
yeah,
and look, like you said, Matt Patricia is one of the best defensive coordinators uh, in the game.
yeah.
He worked under Bill Belichick, so Arch Manning probably didn't uh, see those blitzes or
Oh,
uh,
he looked lost, man.
defenses. Yeah, absolutely, look lost.
Yeah,
And the one thing I will say about Steve Sarkisian, make him successful. Why are you having Arch Manning carry the ball 10 times?
yep.
Dude,
I was gonna say,
that is your quarterback. And
yeah, that's your franchise.
if I'm a Manning in the Manning family, I would tell Steve, stop having him run the football. He's not a running back. Now
I agree.
he can move, but stop too many design rushes.
Yes. Yeah,
And
he's running like literal QB runs. It's not like he's calling the option and he's keeping it. He's running like QB draw. And it's like, what do you have all these five-star running backs? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
look, I think Arch, I think he'll be fine.
He'll be
It's
fine.
one game. He hasn't played a ton. A lot of jitters. Probably some jitters. I think he'll be fine. He made some throws that I'm like, okay, this guy has something. And by the way,
Yeah.
that third down and 5, one of his receivers dropped that ball,
Yeah. He did.
and, and
Yeah.
then and then that fourth down, obviously they didn't convert. But yeah,
There were a
look,
couple bad drops. There were a couple bad drops, and I thought his offensive line. All I heard the whole offseason, I don't know about you, but all I heard, Texas. Oh, they got the biggest. I don't know about best, but the biggest trenches in the country. D and O, like O line, D line. They're huge. They're huge. Arch, he's gonna have all day to throw. I thought their offensive line was. Now, granted, competition taken into account was as weak as any O line as I saw yesterday. Like they weren't holding up in the pass and with the pass rush. I'm still very excited to see where Arch goes. But
yeah,
you can. I would also say, lastly, too. I think, like, I guess he didn't really play great competition in high school. I don't know if you know any. I guess I mean, he went to like a small private school in Louisiana. Granted, it's not like he, it's not maybe a little. It's not like he's playing in Section 3, but like he's not at IMG or he's not playing in Texas, right? He's not
yeah.
playing.
Well, I know nothing about that. I mean, well,
So, well, I'm
I
just
think
there's
he
that
look
part of it.
look. I mean,
So,
he has the tools. He looks like he's gonna be a good quarterback someday. It's just one game,
yeah, and I
We
think Sark can
just
help.
like we did with Bronny James, comparing him to LeBron. Let's stop comparing Arch Manning to Payne and Eli. Let's
Yes.
let's just stop. I mean, you know, Eli and Payne have won 4 Super Bowls combined. Like
Yeah.
this, and Payne Manning's one of the best quarterbacks ever to play, and Eli Manning, he's gonna be a future Hall of Famer. So let's just
Do you think Arch could, if I asked you right now, even after what you saw yesterday, do you think Arch could be one of those guys still? Or after yesterday, would you say, he could be very good? He can't be like that,
uh
though.
I think to be determined. Now,
Okay.
to be
Yeah.
and look, to be fair, college is way different than the NFL.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
better coaching in the NFL, better players. I just I know Texas has good players, but they're the big upgrade. Uh, and,
True.
and and also it's where you land. Also, if Arch lands somewhere with a good organization, I think he could be very very successful. Okay, last topic of the day. Lee Corso, final
Mm,
college game day yesterday. Well, what a career he had. It was unbelievable to watch him on television. He was spectacular. And to be fair, I'm an emotional guy. I watched the whole show. I definitely teared up at the end. I thought that was an amazing tribute uh, that ESPN and Ohio State did. Having the band have Corso, lined up and say Corso. I thought that was awesome to see. Give me my first love, putting a Brutus uh, mascot's head on. I just thought he was great to watch, and I'm sure I'm gonna miss him for sure. And what an amazing career. I mean, 90 years old. Yes, I get it. He had trouble speaking. That's because he had a stroke a
Right.
couple years ago. But it didn't matter when he took that mask had it on his head. You knew college football
Iconic.
was starting. It was hyped.
Yep.
That might have been better than the actual game. So I just thought that was a beautiful moment the other day.
It was. I think back to my long and incredible relationship watching college football, and the first memories I have, you go back to like I'm in early elementary school. I can remember him throwing, like you said, throwing the tiger hat or the Buckeye hat or the duck. The duck. He back with way back like before Marcus Mariota and way before. I remember watching like those
Yeah,
Oregon teams, those Chip Kelly Oregon teams, and him. He loved Oregon, and I think that one thing that's super cool about him, man, is that he had all the money in the world. Everyone loved him. He was a great coach. He could have stopped doing this 10 years ago, 5 years ago. He could have stopped this around COVID. But like he just because of how much it meant to him, how much the game meant to him, how much he loved to entertain people, he continued to do it even when he was not maybe who he wanted to be mentally. He was willing to kind of take that look to do what he loved and to give people what they wanted. So I think I thought it was really cool that I didn't know if they did that on purpose. I don't know if you saw like Ohio State was the first team he picked and the last team he picked. Yeah, I don't know if that
yeah,
was part of the plan to make his last game an Ohio State game or how that happened organically, but
yeah,
like
yeah,
that was cool too.
yeah.
You
No,
know,
it was a beautiful moment. What a career! Uh, Unbelievable entertainer. You
who do you
know,
think's gonna take his place?
you know
That's
what? Just retire that. I don't want to say that anymore. But because do
not
your own.
McAfee.
It is McAfee, but do your own thing. Don't get
Ah, I
ahead
see.
here. Do
Yeah,
your own thing. I think don't copy someone else's
that's a good
thing
point.
because that's not fair to Lee Corso. And I think a lot of people will be like, fans will be, well, okay, that's a little corny. Don't do that. So oh, who knows what they'll do rest of this season. But yeah, we just lost one of the best broadcasters ever. Funny, he's kind of like the Charles Barkley. He Lee Corso made game day, no
Oh
question.
yeah, easily. I hope they keep. I know he's mentally. I know he's getting older, but I hope they still chat. Like I hope he makes an appearance here and there. Like if there's a game day and they like call him in for an interview, just to keep seeing his face every now and then.
Yeah, who
Because
knows? Who knows? Maybe in the playoffs. Who knows?
yeah, exactly. It's time and place. Play. Yeah, I don't need to see him every week, but just to make sure he's still doing well, all that stuff. I couldn't
Yeah,
agree more.
yeah. Hey, Luke. Appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me, Eddie. I enjoyed it.
Bye.